Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Riley got about 2/3 of the way done with another video before he realized it was more about the lore of the world than about the character he meant it to be about, so he split it in two. And today, we'll be lore diving Tales of Berseria and Zestiria. Why? Because I love them, that's why. And I want to talk about Hunky Demon Samurai and Angel Pirates. Turns out you need a lot of context for those, or your video ends up being 30 minutes of lore and 10 minutes of character analysis. So let's get into the meat of this, shall we? Tales of Zestiria and Berseria take place in the same universe, some several thousand years apart. Zestiria came out first, followed by its prequel, Berseria, and I highly recommend playing them in that order. Zestiria sets up a universe where there are interesting social roles and political positions that have existed for thousands of years, and Berseria banks some on the interest of watching those roles being formed in the first place. Now, let's discuss the three core races of the world: humans, Malachim/Seraphim, and demons/Hellions. Humans are fairly standard. They can't use magic on their own, they aren't particularly powerful, there just happen to be a lot of them. Basically, a normal human is a normal human. There are, however, humans with a very high resonance. Resonance is one's ability to perceive Malachim and demons in their true forms. Humans are also capable of generating malevolence, which we'll discuss later. Humans are not, on their own, reasonably strong enough to fight demons, or Molochs for that matter. Malachim/Seraphim are not angels. They do occasionally come from a divine realm, only passively mentioned once by one character as far as I can find, but generally are born from spiritual hotspots around the world. They can also come from the souls of dead humans who had high resonance and low malevolence. Unlike anything you'd describe as an angel, though, Malachim are under no inherent obligation to be good people. Molochs are just as good or bad as any human. They can inherently use magic, and if they form a pact with a human, they allow that human to use magic, and/or acquire physical strength that elevates them to the level of Malachim and demons. Molochs typically don't exist loosely, I should say. A Moloch not tethered to an object or person is very susceptible to malevolence, which to them is a deadly mutating poison. If they possess a person or object, that person or object gives them a degree of protection from ambient malevolence. However, if that object or person becomes themselves possessed by malevolence, it will automatically either kill the Moloch or turn them into a dragon. Molochs very rarely turn into standard demons, they almost always become some level of dragon. Molochs also generate a field of blessing around them. Each Moloch's blessing is slightly different, though they are generally beneficial. A Moloch's blessing becomes more powerful through receiving gifts and prayers. And while this generally takes the form of small churches and shrines that people pray at, it could be anything really. Having a Moloch in your party and having normal conversation and giving them their fair share of the loot counts as prayers and gifts. Malachim come in many shapes and sizes, but they're only really divided in two ways: their elemental affiliation and whether they're a subspecies or not. Normin are special short Molochs with a uniform appearance outside of what they wear and their skin color. Normin aren't as powerful magically or physically as regular Molochs, but they possess the unique ability to modify the blessings and powers of Molochs around them to be more powerful and to have special effects. Cats and turtles are also a thing, technically. Turtles are basically traveling Molochs of commerce, and cats... we don't talk about cats.
And if we snub them, they might put a curse on us.
That has been known to happen. Ew.
Molochs come in 4 different flavors: mint, spicy, moist, and dirt. Typically, their affiliation correlates to where they're born from and affects them physically and spiritually. Earth Molochs can't swim, for instance. While Molochs can use elements outside their purview, they can't use their opposing element, unless you're Laphicet, but that's a special case. And, last of the 3 main courses, we have demons. Demons can be anything. Literally anything. Slime demons are born from water getting too infested with malevolence. Speaking of which, let's talk about malevolence now. Malevolence is an energy only humans can produce inherently, but once a non-human becomes a demon, they too produce it. Malevolence is hard to describe in certain terms, so let me put it to you like this. Whenever you would describe a person as having fallen to blank, that is the emotion that produces malevolence. Despair is a big one, rage, pride. Any emotion that would cause a human to act in a way that is harmful to others, knowing they're doing the wrong thing, is malevolence. Doing bad things does not inherently make one a demon, People can sample malevolence without turning into a demon, but to allow oneself to be consumed by it is to turn into a demon. Malevolence doesn't just go away on its own either. It has to be burned off or consumed by something. I'd go into further detail on that, but unnecessary spoilers shall be avoided because I want you all to go play these games. Back to demons. Demons are as diverse as anything, so attempting to describe them cohesively is pointless. Instead, let's discuss dragons. Dragons are what happens when a Moloch is consumed by malevolence. Dragons are universally seen as the most powerful creatures in setting, and typically even shepherds can't take them down so much as contain them. Even the fires of purification cannot save a dragon. The only release for them is death. We discussed back in the Moloch section how a Moloch is consumed by malevolence and becomes a dragon. The only other relevant point in demons applies only to the Zestiria part of the timeline. For reasons I won't get into, every human in the Berseria time period can perceive Molochs and demons, but in the Zestiria time period, it's limited only to people with high resonance. So, if demons are violent and evil, how do humans not perceive them? Shouldn't they notice they're being attacked? Well, yes and no. Have you ever played Changeling or any of the other games that take place in the WoD setting? It has a system wherein normal humans can kinda perceive the magical things happening around them, but they don't see it as magic. They see it as natural occurrences that just happen to be really unlucky for them. Similarly, a human being attacked by a slime perceives themselves as having tripped into the water and drowning in it. A giant river-dwelling snake demon is perceived as a waterspout, which the shepherd then cuts in half because he's just so cool you guys OMG. And that's basically all you need to know to understand the lore. There's only one keynote left: oaths. Oaths are powerful deals one makes not with any particular entity, but with the world itself. An oath can be anything, but typically it's sacrificing something to gain something else. By the power of an oath, a human can be strong enough to go toe-to-toe with demons without forging a pact with a Moloch. Molochs can gain ridiculous, terrifying power through the use of oaths. The only rule is that what you are losing must be equal to what you are gaining. Who decides this is a little unclear. One character's oath is simply that she cannot tell people her backstory, cannot give certain advice on how to proceed, and cannot explain the terms of her oath to anyone. And that is somehow worth the unique ability to harness the flames of purification. Another character is literally immortal and strong enough to take down a fully powered shepherd as long as he follows the same rules as the first character, but also records all of history that happens during his immortality and never purposefully interferes with the major goings-on of the world. Okay, so that's the core workings of the Tales of Berseria and Zestiria settings. I'll admit to purposely throwing terms out like shepherd without explaining them, mostly for the sake of enticing you to play the games. I cannot recommend them enough, especially Berseria. And now I finally get to go back to talking about hunky pirate boys. So I'll see y'all next time for that. Don't forget to follow my Twitter and take a look at my Patreon. I love you nerds, and y'all have a lovely day.